Across the silent darkness of the galaxy, one name carried fear into every living heart. They were called the Korak Predators, a species born from war, fire, and endless hunger. For hundreds of years, they attacked planets without mercy and without hesitation. No army had ever stopped them, no shield had ever slowed them, no creature had ever frightened them. To the galaxy, the Korak were not just enemies, they were a nightmare that never ended. The Korak believed they were the strongest life form to ever exist. Their ships were massive black structures shaped like blades, cutting space itself as they moved. Their warriors were tall, powerful, and trained from birth to destroy. On every conquered planet, the same story repeated. Civilizations cried for mercy, and the Korak answered only with destruction. But one day, their long-range scanners detected a new planet. It was small, blue, and peaceful-looking, spinning softly around an average star. The Korak commander, Hinad al-Brax, stared at the image with boredom. He expected nothing special, just another weak world ready to fall. The planet's name was simple and almost laughable to him. It was called Earth. The Korak gathered round the hologram, amused at how tiny the world looked. They expected fear, panic, and surrender, the same reaction all other species had shown. But something strange began to appear in the incoming data. Human broadcasts, human images, human history. The more the Korak studied humans, the more confused they became. Humans fought each other more than any other species in the galaxy, yet they also stood together when danger came. Humans felt fear, yet they refused to bow to it. They cried, yet they fought harder. They were fragile, yet somehow impossible to break. Commander Vraxos frowned as he read more about them. Every time the humans faced disaster, they rose stronger. Every time they lost something, they rebuilt it better. Every time an enemy tried to crush them, humans refused to stay down. This behavior made no sense to To them, fear controlled life. To humans, fear only pushed them forward. The Korak War Council gathered to discuss their next move. Most of them laughed when Earth was mentioned. They believed humans were simply another weak species that liked to pretend they were brave. But Vraxos felt something different, something he had not felt in centuries. A small and uncomfortable feeling touched him. Not fear, but something close to it. Still, the Council demanded a simple test. They ordered a scout fleet to travel to Earth and judge its strength. The scouts had the same opinion. It is only a small world, they said. This will be easy. They left their homeworld with full confidence, certain of victory. But when Korak ships approached the solar system, they sensed something unexpected. Human satellites turned toward them, locking on faster than predicted. Earth's systems reacted calmly, almost too calmly. There was no panic in the signals, no cries for help, only silence. And then, a clear message, a message sent in a firm but steady voice. "We see you," the humans said, "and we are ready." The scout leader felt a cold shock inside his chest. No species had ever spoken to the Korak like this. No species had ever looked at them without fear. This was the first time the predators were greeted not with terror, but with strength. Commander Vraxos received the report and stared at the message again and again. For the first time in many years, he felt uncertain. Maybe Earth was not simple. Maybe humans were not weak. Maybe the galaxy had finally found something that could stand against the Korak. As the commander prepared the main invasion fleet, one thought echoed in his mind. "The predators will meet a new kind of prey," he whispered. "One that does not run, and far away." On the small blue planet called Earth, humanity waited, calm and ready. The Korak scout fleet entered Earth's orbit with full confidence. Their ships moved like shadows across the sky, dark and sharp. Every soldier expected the same reaction they always received from other species: fear, chaos, surrender. But Earth did not react like the others. On the ground, humans watched the strange lights in the sky. Some were frightened, but most were focused, calm, and alert. Military bases activated quietly, without panic or confusion. Scientists studied the unknown signals, preparing for any danger. Leaders sent short commands, clear and simple. "Stay ready," they said. "Stay united." The Korak scout leader, Captain Dre, opened the first communication channel. He expected begging, crying, or desperate offers for peace. Instead, Earth replied with a single calm message: "We know who you are, and we will defend ourselves." Dravos froze, shocked at the boldness of the humans. He tried again, sending a warning signal. "This world now belongs to the Korak Empire," he announced. But Earth did not accept his threat. human satellites focused on the Korak ships, gathering data with surprising accuracy. Every movement of the predators was recorded and analyzed. Dravos felt irritated. "Why are they so calm?" he muttered. "Why do they not fear us then?" Without any warning, Earth's defense system activated, but it did not fire missiles or lasers. Instead, it released something completely new. A bright wave of energy expanded from Earth's orbit, gentle but powerful. The wave passed through the Korak ships like invisible wind. The Korak alarms screamed. Shields dropped instantly. Engines flickered. Weapons shut down. The ships were not damaged, but something inside them broke. A hidden weakness the humans had somehow discovered. The Korak panicked for the first time during a first contact mission. Dravos shouted, "What was that? Why are our systems failing?" His crew gave no answer, their hands shaking as the controls refused to respond. Human scientists watching from Earth smiled calmly. They had tested a secret technology, something they had built for years in silence, something called neuroresonance pulse. This pulse did not damage machines. Instead, it disrupted the mental link that the Korak used to control their systems. For the first time, the Predator's greatest advantage was useless. Dravos felt a strange heaviness inside his head. It was not pain, but something he had never felt before. It was doubt. "Humans should not have this power," he whispered. "They should be weak." When the pulse ended, the Korak system slowly returned, but the damage was already done. The Predators had been humbled in less than 1 minute. Dravos tried to regain control of the situation. "Prepare weapons," he ordered, forcing confidence into his voice. But before they could attack, another human message appeared on the screen. The voice was calm, steady, and impossibly fearless. "You attacked us without cause," the human said. "This is your first warning." Dravos's hands trembled. No one had ever warned the Korak before. No one had ever dared to speak to them like this. He wanted to dismiss the humans as fools, but he could not ignore what he had seen. The pulse, the calm response, the unity, everything pointed to one truth. Earth was not weak prey. Earth was something the Korak had never faced before. When Dravos returned his report, Commander Vraxos listened in silence. The great warrior's eyes narrowed as he understood the situation. His voice was cold as he spoke to the council. "Earth is dangerous," he said. "More dangerous than anything we expected." The council laughed at him, calling humans primitive and foolish. But Vraxos knew better. In his heart, he felt the threat growing. A threat he could not ignore. A threat called humanity. And while the Korak prepared their full invasion, Earth stood ready, silent, calm, and stronger than anyone believed. News of the failed scout mission spread through the Korak Empire like a storm. Predators who once laughed at Earth now whispered in confusion. How could a small, unknown world resist the strongest warriors in the galaxy? How could humans stand so calm while facing death? Commander Vraxos demanded full surveillance on Earth. He wanted every detail about humans, their history, and their technology. When the data arrived, the Korak Council expected weakness. Instead, they found something far more dangerous. They found a species that refused to break. Humans were not the oldest species, nor the strongest, nor the fastest, but they were different in a way the Korak could not understand. Every time humans faced a disaster, they evolved. Every time they encountered chaos, they adapted. Their entire history was a record of survival against impossible odds. Vraxos watched old human recordings. He saw humans climb mountains, dive into deep oceans, survive storms, and fight enemies far stronger than themselves. He saw them build civilizations, fall, and rise again with greater strength. He saw pain in their history, but also hope. This confused him deeply. To understand a species, the Korak believed you had to look at how they treated fear. Most species hid from it, surrendered to it, or cried before it. But humans did something strange. They carried fear with them and still moved forward. They used fear as fuel instead of weakness. Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity knew the Korak would not stop, so human leaders revealed a secret they had kept hidden for decades. A secret project known only to a few scientists and commanders. It was called Project Horizon, a plan created after Earth detected alien signals long ago. Project Horizon was not a single weapon or machine. It was a collection of ideas, experiments, and calculations. Its goal was simple: to prepare humanity for the day they were no longer alone. One part of the project focused on understanding alien technology. Another studied alien biology, and the most important part developed a new type of energy technology, the same one that had shut down the Korak scout fleet, the neuroresonance technology. This technology used focused sound and energy waves, not to destroy machines, but to confuse minds linked to them. The Korak relied heavily on mental communication with their ships and weapons. Humans used this knowledge to create a perfect counter. When the world learned about Project Horizon, many were shocked, but no one panicked. People supported it because they understood something important. Humanity had survived thousands of dangers before. They would survive this one too. Earth's scientists worked day and night. They improved the pulse, built stronger shields, and prepared new starship engines. Engineers created small fleets designed not for attacking but for defending nearby alien worlds. Humanity was not preparing to conquer. They were preparing to protect. When the first human defense fleet launched into orbit, the world watched proudly. It was small compared to the Korak armada, but every ship carried powerful technology and brave people. Every soldier knew the risk, but they also knew what they were fighting for. Hope, survival, unity, things the Korak had never understood. In space, the human fleet sent a broadcast across the galaxy. It was simple and clear. To all species who fear the Korak, you are not alone. Alien civilizations who had hidden for centuries listened in disbelief. This was the first time any species had spoken against the predators. Small planets, forgotten races, and broken civilizations all felt something new, a spark of hope that warmed their hearts. When this message reached the Korak homeworld, the council was furious. How dare humans interfere in our rule? They shouted, but Commander Vraxos said nothing. He only stared at the hologram of Earth. He knew the galaxy had changed. He knew humanity was no longer prey. For the first time in centuries, a new force had entered the stage of galactic power. A force unpredictable, fearless, and impossible to break. A force called humanity. The Korak Empire could no longer pretend that humans were a small threat. Human broadcasts spread across the galaxy, reaching species who had lived in fear for generations. For the first time, planets that once hid in silence lifted their heads with hope. But hope alone could not stop the Korak. War had begun, and the galaxy trembled. Commander Vraxos gathered the largest Korak armada in centuries. Massive warships formed dark clouds across the stars. Their engines roared with ancient power, shaking space itself. The Korak marched forward with one goal: destroy humanity before their influence spread any further. On Earth, humans watched the incoming threat with steady hearts. There was fear, but there was also courage. Soldiers prepared, scientists worked, engineers checked the ships again and again. No one stood alone. The world moved as one. The human defense fleet, small compared to the Korak, positioned itself between Earth and the approaching armada. Aliens who once feared everything now stood beside humans. Small scout races, fragile species, and peaceful civilizations sent whatever ships they could. They knew they stood little chance alone, but together with humanity, they felt stronger than ever. When the two forces met in deep space, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The Korak shouted their war cry, loud and terrifying, but humans did not flinch. They tightened their formation and activated the neuroresonance shields. A pale blue glow surrounded the fleet, like a protective aura. The Korak launched the first attack. Thousands of energy blasts shot across space, bright as falling stars, but the human shields absorbed most of the damage. Shockwaves rippled across the enemy ranks as their strongest weapons failed again. Korak soldiers stared in disbelief. Human commanders answered the attack with precision, not with brutality, but with strategy. They aimed not at Korak ships, but at their communication relays. Each hit cut off a piece of the Korak mental network. The Redditors suddenly found themselves disoriented and confused. For the first time in their history, the Korak felt what prey felt. Fear. Not fear of death, but fear of the unknown. Fear of something they could not control. Commander Vraxos roared, trying to restore order. But the human fleet moved like flowing water. Every formation changed at the perfect moment. Every ship acted with clear purpose. Earth's soldiers fought not only for survival, but for every species counting on them. In the middle of the battle, a small alien ship took heavy damage. It belonged to a peaceful race that had never fought before. As it spiraled out of control, a human cruiser rushed forward, blocking enemy fire. They saved the ship at the cost of their own shields. The act shocked the alien crew. No predator would ever protect the weak like that. Across the galaxy, species, watching the battle from hidden locations, whispered in awe. They had never seen such bravery, never seen such unity, never seen a species risk everything for strangers. The battle continued for hours. The Korak grew desperate. Their attacks became wild and unfocused. Humanity, however, remained calm, using their discipline and strategy to push forward. Finally, the Korak were forced to retreat. Their armada broke apart as damaged ships fled into different corners of space. Commander Vraxos stayed last, refusing to run. But even he had to accept the truth. The humans had won the first great battle of the war. As the human fleet returned, the galaxy celebrated, but humanity did not celebrate victory. They prepared for what came next, because they knew this was only the beginning. The Korak had tasted defeat, and predators who tasted defeat always came back stronger. The war for the galaxy had only begun, and humanity stood ready for whatever came next. The defeat of the Korak armada shook the entire galaxy. For the first time in centuries, the predators had been pushed back, but the war was not over. Commander Vraxos gathered every surviving Korak ship for one last attack. He refused to believe humans could defeat the full power of the Korak Empire. On Earth, leaders knew the final battle was coming. The human defense fleet returned for repairs, but there was little time. Scientists pushed their machines to the limit. Engineers upgraded the neuroresonance shields. Soldiers trained harder than ever before. Every human understood what was at stake. If they lost, Earth would fall. If Earth fell, every allied species would fall with it. Humanity stood at the center of a storm that could destroy the galaxy, but they did not fear it. Across the stars, the Korak Empire moved like a dark wave. Their ships filled the void with shadows. Their warriors roared in anger and wounded pride. They wanted vengeance. They wanted to prove they were still the strongest predators in existence. When the Korak armada reached the edge of the solar system, the sky turned dark with metal. Planets trembled under the pressure of their engines. But Earth did not stand alone. Dozens of alien fleets appeared beside the humans. Small, fragile, and inexperienced, yet brave. For the first time in history, the galaxy united, not under fear, but under hope. Hope that humanity had given them. The final battle began with a thunder that shook every star around. The Korak attacked with everything they had: powerful beams, crushing torpedoes, and mental interference waves. But the humans were ready. They activated the upgraded neuroresonance grid. A huge field of blue light spread across space. This time, the wave did more than disable systems. It weakened the Korak mental network completely. The predators felt their minds blur, their instincts weaken. For the first time, they felt powerless. Human ships moved forward with perfect coordination. Allied fleets followed behind, inspired by Earth's courage. Together, they pushed through the Korak formation, breaking their lines. One by one, enemy ships fell. Their strength meant nothing against united force. Commander Vraxos tried to fight until the end. His flagship charged at the human command vessel. He wanted to crush humanity with his own claws, but his systems flickered and failed. The resonance grid crushed his mental control. When human soldiers boarded his ship, Vraxos looked at them with disbelief. He expected cruelty, arrogance, or revenge. Instead, he saw calm faces. He saw warriors, not monsters. He saw the one thing the Korak had never understood: mercy. The humans did not kill Vraxos. They offered him a choice: surrender and join a peaceful future, or fight and fall forever. For the first time in his life, Vraxos felt something unfamiliar. He felt tired. He saw the truth that the Korak had refused to see. Humanity was not prey. They were protectors. They were survivors who fought for more than power. Vraxos dropped his weapon and surrendered. His message spread across the Korak Empire. The predators stopped fighting. They accepted peace. The war was finally over. In the following months, the galaxy changed. New alliances were formed. Broken worlds were rebuilt. Species that had once hidden came into the light, and at the center of it all stood humanity. The galaxy no longer whispered in fear of the Korak. It whispered a new name with respect and gratitude, a name that would never be forgotten: humanity. And though the war had ended, humanity knew this was not the end. It was the beginning of a new era, an era led not by fear, but by courage, unity, and hope.